Shiv, good to see you. Good to see everybody again. I know it's middle of summer. Some of you, of course, most of you that are on the call are probably trading because you're on the call. I know many of you, hey Roger, good to see you. Bob, Pat, many are, many take the summer off, which, I lighten my load in the summer just because I have 3 kids that are, 14 and under, and I like to spend as much time as I can while they still like me. And if you ask my 14-year-old, he may or may not. I don't know if he likes me anymore. But anyway, so, let's talk about kind of what's been going on in the markets here, and then I've got some time for any Q&A as well. Okay, but I brought up the Nasdaq here. You can see we've got the bullish activity, right? And to show you how strong the market is right now, we had divergence here, and it looks like this may be all we get for divergence, right? Just meaning, it's really not even coming down half of the band, or maybe right around half of the median of the Bollinger Band. And remember, I keep my Bollinger Bands at 2.5 standard deviations versus the traditional 2. Okay. We have some 2 o'clock news with FOMC. So those of you that day trade, remember my FOMC trade. If you don't, go into YouTube and look at, you'll see it from previous. I love trading FOMC. But from a swing trading perspective, that it may or may not have an impact on the markets, right? That's what it's always challenging to see if there's surprises from what's expected. Okay, and when I look at it right now, the expected is what, 0.125%. So if they stay as is, the markets probably won't move a whole lot. If there's some unexpected, then you can see a movement. But we got a lot of earnings, plays coming up, last week into the next 2 or 3 weeks here. So, earnings can complicate things if you're a traditional trader like me, where, even with seasonality where that's baked in, I don't necessarily like to go into a trade right before earnings because it's too unpredictable in my opinion. Okay. So that's why, I know a lot of you take some time off this time of year. But anyway, so, NASDAQ, the Dow, the spiders, and let me bring up the SPY. Not sure why I did that. Let me fix that. All right, so the spider. Again, very, very bullish activity, right? Green Hockenachis, Laguerre's pointed up. Okay. Seasonality is, to the upside. So when we have dips like we did here, right, we have to take advantage of those dips, right? At some point, that person that keeps telling you on videos that the bear market's coming, right, at some point they'll be correct. Unfortunately, they've been stopped out 60 times predicting that, right? And I'm not saying that to pick on anybody. I'm saying that because when you're in a bull market, the trend is our friend. I don't necessarily worry about making money on the down moves, although you can, especially using Hockenachie and Laguerre, very nice opportunities. But more than that, you then have a way to get right back into the trend once the movement down is over, right? So right here's a green Hockenachie, right here's a green Hockenachie. You can continue to do that over and over again in a bull market, okay? And it's actually pretty easy to figure out when we're in a bear market. You can see what the retailers are doing. When they go long significantly, we're going to be in a bear market, okay? Right now, retailers are adding to their short positions. Another reason why the markets continue to hit new highs. Okay, so we looked at the Nasdaq, we looked at the SPY. I'm still bullish. The Russell. So the Russell 2000 has been the weaker, of the indexes, right? And these are, more riskier type, in theory anyway, stocks, right? the Russell 2000. But what will probably happen is if we continue higher in the markets, right, this will eventually catch up, just like the Nasdaq did a while back. So, one of my strategies is, after we start breaking out, we get a pullback, and then we're making higher lows on the Russell. That's another good re-entry. Okay, another good re-entry. And again, the Dow, it broke through that 35,000 and it hasn't held yet, right? That 35,000, that's a big deal. I don't have any idea why it is, but it is. So because it is, hey, just be careful. And what we're looking for is it to close above and then come back and hold that 35,000 before we go higher, right? But until then, you can see it bounces up and then it comes right back down, like it did over here. And so just be aware of that level. Going in long right now, if you're trying to stay, for a longer term, it's riskier until it gets through here. And maybe FOMC will do that. We'll see. We'll see. Okay. A couple weeks ago, I mentioned, I am waiting for a pullback, and we had it. Remember when I said, until they prove us wrong, these pullbacks are temporary. But the hardest part, especially those that don't have a really solid trading system, is when is that bottom done? So in this case, we had a move down here. The next day it came up, but Hackenacci was still red, right? And then so the next day it opened up green. That was a potential entry for you if you're wanting to go long in the market, right? You could say, well, yeah, but I was giving up all this. The problem is you don't know until after the fact that this is this was the low, right? So if you would have went long here, you would have put your stop below this wick, you would have worked out this time, absolutely. But if you just get the meat of these trades, folks, you're going to be very happy. So, having that Laguerre agree, start curving back up with the Hackenacci is what I like to see. And, you can always go to that 4 hour. Okay, I think 4 hour is a really good time to get in there. And right here at 1 o'clock, or Tuesday at 1, we finally got that Laguerre. And there it went. So there's a lot of ways to do it. You don't have to just guess. And then when I saw retailers were adding to their shorts, okay, you just knew with high likelihood that we're heading higher. Bonds. Again, through mid-August, bonds typically go higher, and they've been doing that, right? They've been doing that. And so now you're going to want to start. We'll probably hit recent highs again, and then at some point we're going to get that pullback. But until we do, you can use shorter time frames. I'm actually on the future side of it, am long on the ZN, the 10-year. Okay. Again, many of you probably traded the TLT from an option standpoint. But it does look like it wants to continue higher, probably for another couple of weeks or so, as that's what it normally does. Okay. Okay, so let's take a look at Bitcoin. It's been very quiet, right, during this consolidation. You're not hearing much about it. And now you're getting some pretty solid Hackenacci long plays, okay? Let me remove that. So what I'm looking for now is, with this breakout, I want to see it continue up, come back, and if it's a higher low, okay? So let's say, for example, let's say it comes up and then it goes to right here and then it reverts back up. That's now a higher low, right? So then that would be my entry on either, again, I'm not trading the futures of Bitcoin here, but I'm kind of using that as my gauge for like Riot or Mara. you know, as my crypto plays there. So we did have a combo trigger long here, but you know, during this kind of consolidation, the downtrend, it wasn't something that I wanted to take. If we have a move back down and that's a higher low here in the near future, that would be my entry. Okay. So you got to have a plan. I mean, that's the bottom line. All right. The dollar. Again, so it's been heading up. You can see seasonality wise, it's kind of slanting down to up, then back up. So what that means is it's kind of sideways, which what that means is there's no significant advantage of a seasonal move. So the trend is our friend. And so right now I'm more bullish than bearish on that. Okay. Certainly when we get into October, I'm more bullish, but as long as it holds these levels here and we get back to a green, well, you know, we'll probably continue to head higher on that dollar index. Okay. Gold, you know, it kind of had a breakout. Now it's consolidating. You know, we typically hit a high on gold right around the end of August. Okay, so again, when the Laguerre triggers long again, if you like your risk, you could be, you know, close to another long play when that happens. You know, so what that could mean is something like, I mean, there's a lot of them, right? But like GLD from an option standpoint, if you don't trade futures. And then remember, right around September, gold dips typically. Okay. So we go long and then we'll look to short if it's going to follow that normal seasonal pattern. Okay. Crude oil. So I did a futures play on that and hit profit target 1 today. Now my goal is, you know, then I move my stop to break even and I'm looking to see if this can break out to new highs. That'd be a fantastic trade then. But either way, it's risk-free now. Okay. But the reason, you know, with gold, you might say, well, gosh, you know, again, the seasonality is not great, but it is kind of pointing up a little bit, you know, right here, right? But again, when you don't have any significant, that can tell you a lot. Okay. And I don't talk about that enough. That's why I wanted to. So when it's more, if you're drawing a line that's kind of straight, then the trend is our friend. So during this pullback, again, I didn't short this at all. I was licking my chops though for this new entry. And so again, it came down. Again, that's like a $10 move down. Laguerre trigger, green Haganachi, I'm in. Now I'm risk-free. And let's just hope that this breaks right on out. Okay. If it doesn't, still made money, but we hope for some of these breakouts. If you did an option play on USO, now you see what I'm looking at. You know, again, I like this to hit new highs on USO. Again, following the rules, giving myself a pretty good opportunity to make some money. Retailers are also net short oil, which means I like it longer. Okay. You bet, Kirby. Okay, so VIX. Okay, so I did a nice short plan, the VIX during the spike, more advanced. I'm not going to get into it today, but eventually I'll hold a class on the VIX because the VIX is a very cool way to make money throughout the year. But again, you know, we're expecting the VIX to come up a little bit in August, you know, and then, you know, once we hit mid-September, head down. But, you know, the bottom line is if you look to short these spikes on the VIX, okay, these are, in my opinion, one of the highest probability trades out there because the spikes revert back to the mean, okay? You just have to know how to position accordingly and how to trade it, okay? Which obviously is very important. All right, so let's talk now. Where is that sucker? Apple. So again, Apple, you know, during this breakout move, we had the seasonal. Okay, again, using Haganachi, you can see, and yes, you probably notice a new indicator I have in here. I'll talk more about this in the future. Okay, I'm just still continuing to modify it. But I like to see it trends very easily. Okay. But anyway, the Hockenacci stayed green here, and then you would have exited on the combo short right here. Okay. And then what am I looking for? Right? Like a broken record. I'm absolutely just looking for long plays on Apple. Earnings came out. The actual was 1.3. The estimated was $1, right? So it beat earnings, yet it went down today. So some of you have your head turned sideways. Why is that, right? Well, trust me, you can read about it and you'll find a way to justify it, okay? You'll say something like, well, the forecast coming up isn't great or whatever. Trust me, Apple's not going anywhere, okay? This is just giving you a better opportunity. This is what a professional's thinking. Come on down and then give us that new entry for a long play, okay? We hit a new high, folks, okay? It's very normal to have pullbacks, okay? So, when we get the pullback, the larger the pullback, right, the better the opportunity to make money on a new option play, okay? That's what I'm waiting for at this point. I'm not going to read earnings. I'm not going to worry about it. Okay, Apple will be higher very shortly. All right, AMD. So again, this is one of those plays where I actually like to stay in AMD, get in, and we had a nice trigger before earnings here. Okay, and I didn't do it this time because I was wondering about, with COVID, I thought too much, right? Which is always a mistake, but I was actually wondering if there was going to be a supplies issue and stuff, okay? But if I wouldn't have thought about it, I just would have went off of it, okay? Typically, AMD plays their earnings here. You can see with the seasonal that Wall Street's gonna like it. It's gonna head higher after earnings. So when you get these triggers right before earnings here, okay, that earnings is baked into the seasonal indicator, all right? Yeah, there's more risk though, because what if it would have gapped down on you? And I don't do many of these. This is usually one I do though, but I didn't because I overthought. So even myself, so I like to think of myself as a good trader, been doing it for 15 years, have solid trading plans. Even myself, I outthink myself sometimes, okay? The bottom line is though, when you're going right into earnings, there's more risk. So for newer traders or smaller accounts, it's not always you usually want to wait till after earnings before you get into the trade, meaning you'd want to wait for a pullback, right? Then you can look to enter again, AMD. NVIDIA, so I'm long NVIDIA. Okay, you can see what I like about it, obviously. It's a phenomenal stock. We finally had that pullback to the 2.5 standard deviations. Okay, and now this will ride to new highs probably here very shortly. Okay. Shopify, it's been just an amazing stock as well. So what you want to do in these cases is when you get the pullbacks, right, add into your positions, or that's the time to buy. It doesn't get much better than this. You got the Laguerre turning back up, green Hockenacci, 2.5 standard deviations out, okay, and then hit new highs there. So what I wanted to show you today was some charts that almost look the same, because those are what we look for, right? Those type of opportunities to look for resumptions of the trend that matches the seasonality, okay? All right, have a request for lean hogs. So typically it's, lean hogs go bearish this time of year till about middle of August. So what I'm waiting for here, right, is that Laguerre to trigger short and this come right back down. So more than likely we're probably close to a top here, but you don't have to think about it. You just wait for the indicators to tell you when it's time to go short. Okay, I'm not looking for longs right now, only for shorts. So Tesla's been consolidating on us. Okay, even after earnings, Tesla's been consolidating. But obviously, I like it to the long side even more when we get into October. But if you're looking to add or purchase some Tesla for a longer term, we're getting close there for another new trigger on Tesla. Right, so a couple things I wanted to kind of show you today. One, my trade of the month that I did, I try to do it every month, was TDY for last month, right? You can go back and watch the YouTube video. Absolutely should. So, again, just looking at the pure data mining that I use, right? If you entered just on July 12th and you exited on 9/20, okay, for this Teledyne Technologies, 20 out of 21 years, you would have made money, about 12% of the move. And that's just on those days. Okay, when I'm mining, I got to have days. Those of you that know or have watched some of my data mining videos know that I don't usually go in just in the date and exit. I wait for a trigger up to 2 weeks early on an opportunity coming up, because what that means is that's when the institutions typically buy, right? So we had a Laguerre trigger right here on the 12th, which means the 13th is the entry, okay? And we hit new highs today, on TDY. So again, protected myself at this point, took some profits off on TDY. And again, though, we still have some more time with this, right? We do have earnings. That was this morning. That's part of that earnings play that I'll do. When you give me a probability like that, okay, I'm not afraid to take those. I'll live with a loss if that were to happen. But the bottom line is we still have more leg to run on this, right? Till September 20th typically. So if you waited until after earnings, you could just keep that on your watch list. After you get another pullback, you can look to do a long play, right? Maybe you look at a 4-hour, just as an example, and say, okay, so now when the next 4-hour triggers in the near future, that could be a potential long. Okay, so that's one of those trades that you can, with high probabilities, make some money. What else am I looking at? So Salesforce CRM. Okay, this has a nice trade coming up that if you go long on 8/20, so we're talking mid-August, and you exited on 9/21, you made money 14 out of 16 years. So, this trigger right here is a little bit early, but you've been also in an uptrend, so you absolutely could have took this, okay? But what I'm waiting for, this is perfect for me. I would love to see this come back and touch these lows here again, then get a Laguerre trigger here in the near future. When that happens, I love the opportunity that we're going to make money on Salesforce, okay? So the further this comes down, especially if it can test these levels here at 237, okay, then when we get a new entry, I love it. Okay, so keep that on your watch list as well, in my opinion. It's also a really good, technically sound company, right? Okay. Some of you may have heard of Procter Gamble. So this is a trade I'm looking at. I'm basically looking for a long play between now and December, okay? So we've identified now in Procter Gamble that we're in an uptrend, okay? So as we get pullbacks, you just keep on your list. When you get new Laguerre triggers like we did back here on June 25th, okay, when that happens, okay, that can be your entry. Okay, we do have earnings coming up there on the 30th, but that's basically what we're looking at. And so let me just show you something here. So should be able to see this Excel sheet. Procter Gamble, if you went long on 8/20 to November 1st, so it is a 73 days there, okay? You've made money 42 out of 50 years, okay? 42 out of 50 years. And that's during a little bit longer window. So if you bought it and held it, you made money 42 out of 50 years. We don't even have to hold it that long, right? We can wait for the next trigger, which may be next week. We don't know when that's going to be, right? The indicators will tell us. Then we just need to take part of that trade higher, okay? So again, just showing you how I look at things. High probability trades coming up here, folks. Procter & Gamble is another one. Wait for that pullback. You got plenty of time to wait. And then when we get that new Laguerre trigger like we did right here, Okay, that's your opportunity to make some money on Procter Gamble. Okay. All right, couple requests. TTD. I don't have seasonal data on this. So the trend is our friend. You know, again, we're getting some divergence here today, potentially. We're at highs. So again, if you like this stock, I would definitely wait for a pullback. And block. So again, we talked about blockchain here earlier. Very similar pattern, right? I'm not going in right now because it's been in that consolidation. But if we go up, head back, and once we get that higher low in the near future, then that would be my entry. That's how I would play it. Okay. Now, if you're buying the outright stock, you know, and you can hold it longer, you could, I guess, but I would still wait. I want to make sure that we're not just going back and forth here for weeks. I want to see a breakout, higher low, and then take it. Okay. That's exactly how I would play that opportunity. All right, any questions on anything at this point? All right, so what I wanted to show you a little bit more now is my data mining I use. I update it every year. I'm going to bring it up to 200%. Actually, let me make it 150%. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up October. I'm just picking a month here. Okay, so now I've got all my October opportunities here, and there's a lot of them, you'll see. But then I'm going to sort by percent wins and say largest percent wins. Okay. And the way I'm sharing screen is goofy. Hold on, let me fix it. I don't like the way there's like a it's not fitting well. Hold on one second. Let me exit out and bring it back in here. One second. Okay. And let me bring up, I'm just picking a month. You can do all months, but I'm just picking a month, October. One of my favorite months. All right. So average wins, I'm going to go largest to 100% wins. Okay. And these are days. Trades is number of years. Okay. This is and then winners 11. So for example, Broadcom, if you went in on October 20th and you exited on January 18th, okay, 11 years out of 11 years, you made money. So every year, average a 12% profit, okay? But I'm sorting by wins here. And look at some of these ridiculous ones. This BlackRock, BLK, okay? I mean, look at this. If somebody calls, I always tell people, if somebody calls you up on the phone and gave you this tip, right, you'd be mortgaging your house, which I don't want you to do, but you get my point, right? Somebody said, hey, if you buy BlackRock on October 25th and you keep it until the end of the year, basically, okay, you're going to probably make around a 9% profit. It's made money 21 out of 21 years, right? Well, folks, I have that data, okay? And again, I don't just go in off the dates, okay? So what I look for, let me go back to, let me show you. So again, remember, October, right around October, we start looking. All right, so my entry last year was right here, a combo long play here on November 3rd, okay? So we went here, and then the exit point initially, at least part of my risk was on the red dot here, right here. So made a nice profit on BLK, okay? But again, going back to the basics on this example, it's made money 21 out of 21 years during this window, okay? So people that tell me, and trust me, I don't get many anymore, but I still get them. People that tell me seasonality is nonsense, I disagree. And what that could mean is maybe my definition is different than somebody else's, okay? Meaning, when I talk about seasonality, okay, I think about it as times and windows of opportunity where institutions buy large portions of stocks, okay? Because those of you that, some of you are hedge funds, but those of you that run funds know this, others may not. When you're buying hundreds of thousands of shares, you can't do it in one transaction like you and I do, right? You buy it over time, you build into it. That's why you create these trends, okay? And so, you know, these movements here, they like habit, and they do that year in and year out. So if you don't have this on your watch list in the middle of October, a BLK to go long whenever you get that trigger, okay, you're missing out. I mean, that's about as easy as I can say it. Does it mean it'll do that 50 years in a row? No. But what it also means that if you don't have a trigger during that window, don't take it, okay? And even then, nothing's guaranteed, but you're giving yourself a really high opportunity to make money, folks, okay? In my case, the data doesn't lie. I'm not going to get into politics, but the data I have doesn't lie. It is what it is, okay? All right. So let's see. Let's see, KKR. Let's look at KKR. Yeah, so this is another pretty solid opportunity, right? Obviously, the entry was right here on the 21st. Seasonal's kind of flat to up. So again, trend is our friend there. Now I'm not going in at new highs. I needed to do that next retracement. Okay, so here was a good entry. Here was a good entry. Here's a good entry. You just need that to retrace and come back. So it's just a waiting game at this point. LHDX. So no seasonal. This is a, you know, I wouldn't be touching this personally. If anything, I'd be looking for a short play. Okay. But that's not a stock I would even personally be looking at. Doesn't give me enough data. And if anything, I would have to short this at this point. Okay. All right, so great question. Imran asks, do I typically trade near the close or open? So for stocks, okay, let me make it clear. We'll talk about stocks. I go in as usually right when the market opens up, okay? The only day, there's two days that I just usually don't trade and just wait. Unless I'm already in trades, then I don't worry about it, okay? We got the Fed at 2 o'clock. That happens every so often, right? Today, right after this call. So I didn't do any new long positions or short positions today. And then non-farm payroll can move the market as well, the first Friday of the month. But typically, if I really like a trade, I'll go in anyway as well, okay? But when I'm swing trading, especially stocks, now futures is different because the new bar opens up in the evening, okay? But for stocks, I go in at the open, and then unless I'm doing something public or something, I don't hang around the screen all day, okay? Let's see here. What else we got? Wish. All right, Pat, you wish you could make money on Wish. Let's see here. I wish I could type it right. There we go. All right, so again, no seasonal data, but I'd be wanting to, I want short plays, right? The trend is our friend. We had a nice short trigger re-entry on June 29th. I'd be waiting for that next one, but not something I would be looking at this point. Saba. So again, the seasonal is more to the downside, but it's been in a trend. This is a little confusing to me because of that. Okay, so I would be at this point, there's better things to trade. And WKHS. We've got a seasonal move higher coming, as you can see. It's literally been consolidating for the most part. So I would want the ADX, see how I have the red ADX down here? I'd want that to turn yellow or green, and then I'd be looking to the upside. I wouldn't be looking for short plays, okay? All right. What about, did I talk about BK? Let me look at BK. Yeah, so this is another good one. Well, I mean, so the seasonal is more kind of non-significant right now, back and forth. We're in an uptrend, but I would be more patient and wait until like September on this. But if you had to pick a direction, I definitely like it long because it's in an uptrend and it's been respecting that 2.5 standard deviation band, right? So, but yeah, I don't want to get too close to those highs. It could consolidate for a while, so I wouldn't trade it yet. I'd be waiting till roughly September on BK. Okay. Yeah, Facebook. Be interesting. You got the after the market today, right? So I think Facebook is going to beat earnings, but it depends on what's baked in already, right? That's the funny thing about earnings, right? And it's funny because I remember when I was in school, I still remember this. My professors telling me, you know, it beat earnings, so the stock will go higher. You know, and most of us know that that's not how it happens. I mean, it can, right? But there's a lot of factors, and some of it doesn't even make sense, right? You can have it beat earnings and have a good forecast forward, and the stock tanks, right? That doesn't typically happen, but it can. Okay, and so if you're long Facebook, I personally, would stay in it during earnings just because, it's Facebook. But if you're looking for an entry, maybe Monday tomorrow we'll get a gap down somehow, and then you look for that long entry. But if not, you just kind of wait for it to pull back. Okay. And if you're really aggressive, you can go in on the 4-hour. Okay. Yeah. So one of the questions is, let me bring it up and share with you all. I got to find it real quick here where you can see those past videos. So I think I got it on my website here as well. I'm just looking for it here. But yeah, if you're on YouTube and you just go to, I'm looking for the direct link. I'll have them send it out on the update today. But if you just type in Dr. Keith, you should see you can like my page and you'll see all my webinars there. That's where I post these. We also send out, once it's done recording, all the ones that attended, we send this out to you all. If you don't see it, always check your spam folders. Yeah, Maron, I stay away over most recently listed stocks just because that's not my trading style. Okay, I like stocks that have proven seasonality track records because to me it helps me make decisions. It doesn't mean some of those won't work out and that all that good stuff, but that's not part of the way I trade. Yeah, good question. One thing I've learned over the years is if I have too many strategies, then I'm not good at any of them. Okay, any question, anything at this point? Okay, so let me grab the last analysis. I'm going to copy it and put it in the chat box. That's the last 2 weeks ago YouTube video, because then once you're in there, you should be able to like it so that you can get look at my others, right? So check the chat there. Oh yeah, so I give you my prediction on the NQ. Bullish, bullish. But let me tell you what I think will happen. So I don't know what's going to happen at 2 o'clock, if there's going to be any significant move or not. Okay. But what I do think is going to happen, just from the fact that, well, let me get out of this stupid. Okay. I do think that what I would be doing is any pullbacks we get, like we did here, okay, I definitely want to take it long when we get new triggers. So back here on May 20th was a new trigger. The curvature with the green Hackenacci on 722. So in the near future, you can see the band starting to narrow, meaning consolidation. And again, because we're at highs, that doesn't really surprise me. If we get a bigger pullback, you're just waiting for that, in my case, Laguerre to come into the green and come back out, have green Hackenacci, okay? And then I do also look to see if retailers are continuing to short and go from there. So, you know, I do think that, you know, the markets are going to continue to overperform, just from the standpoint, there's a lot of money out there that people don't know what to do with. The rich are richer. They need to put money somewhere. They want to put in the stock market. Okay. So that's kind of the plan, or between now and the next 2 weeks. Pullbacks, look for long plays, and if it's more significant, don't try to get in front of it. Let it go down, and then when it reverts, you should be good to go back to the long side. Okay. I do believe that when I talk to you all in 2 weeks from now, the markets will be higher. Yes, I do. I haven't really seen that correlation, Imran, but I haven't done a real analysis on it either. So I don't have a lot that I can say about that because I haven't really studied it. Okay. Now, typically, right, worldwide markets will try to correlate relatively close to each other, and that doesn't always happen though. And so I haven't really found a good correlation of how that happens. But the bottom line is, what spooks our markets is fear, right? When there's fear, the markets tend to go down until they stabilize. And so the next big fear that comes out that's not, you know, predicted is when the markets will have a larger fall than we're at now. We just don't know when that's going to be. Okay. Okay, well, with that, folks, have a great week and a good weekend. And if you have any questions, you know, please don't hesitate to reach out. SeasonalTraderPro.com is my website for those that aren't familiar with it. Let me go ahead and put that in the chat just so you have it. Bear with me here. That's my website, and I look forward to talking to you all in a couple weeks. Good luck, everybody. Take care.